I'll come to you now, Mr. Michael Nzewi. We're going to be talking about PPPs, public-private partnerships. The importance of a private sector-led infrastructure development cannot be overemphasized. And I think to a very large extent, it's the crux of what we're trying to achieve here today. So can you explain how Anambra State's PPPs framework, what they can do to attract private sector participation?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think by way of a quick introduction, my name is Michael Nzewi, and I'm the Group Managing Director of CardinalStone Partners, a Lagos-based investment banking firm with assets under management in excess of 200 billion. We recently invested in a company here in Anambra State, in Linden Farms. We invested about $4.6 million in Linden Farms. So what I'll be sharing with us is really from a life experience of someone who's put his money where his mouth is. I'm from Nzewi in Anambra State, so also I'm a son of the soil. I think in terms of exploring how we can enhance public-private partnerships to the state, we all know about the technical or what I'll call the textbook ways of, attracting investors to PPPs, all the support you can get from the government, the regulatory frameworks, some of the things the commissioner talked about, providing land, support, and all of that. But I think I would like to spend the little time I have focusing on something very practical, which I think His Excellency the Governor had hinted on before. I think the state should really prioritize this initiative of trying to create a financing arm for the state. And some of the ideas I have about that is, look, I think that should actually be separate from ANSIPA. ANSIPA should continue to focus on investment promotion and protection, which is our equivalent of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. Now we need to create a very financially powerful and very strong entity or vehicle, which will then be focusing on things like project development. Project developments can be very costly in a place like this. There are some of these feasibility studies we're talking about. The real master plan, to complete those feasibility studies cost millions of dollars. So it's not what individuals or even state governments should be prioritizing too much on. So we need to focus on creating this Anambra State Development Corporation, right? To build a very strong entity, which on itself is able to attract capital, is able to raise capital, to fund projects, to develop projects, to partner with private sector players, to de-risk projects to the point where they become very attractive to private sector players. And in the long term, we also need to think of how do we shield that corporation from political interference so that that corporation is able to perpetuate itself, outlive some of the great things His Excellency will be trying to do. In summary, what I'm trying to say here is, and it is something His Excellency has done before in Transcorp. I'm thinking of a Transcorp 2.0, which should be better, very intentional, and all the mistakes that were made in Transcorp, we build on that and build a world-class, very strong financial institution that can help with fundraising and projecting some of these projects. And some of the ways we can start that today is all these assets the government has, we can start putting that straight into that vehicle, right? Build that vehicle to a point where the vehicle is rated and the vehicle might even eventually get a listing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, right? All of this will help in perpetuating that vehicle and creating sustainability for that vehicle. I hope we'll still get a chance to talk about how we can support that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insightful speech, Mr. Nzewi. I think the takeaway for me is the fact that we need to support ADIC, that's the Anambra Development and Investment Corporation, to live out its full potential without unnecessary interference, and also to build strong financial institutions. I mean, when the governor was making his presentation, he mentioned the need to partner with financial organizations, but that even if that is not coming as fast as we want it, we can develop our own here in Anambra State and support it to give us the funding that we require. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Nzewi. I'm going to quickly ask you another question, just in 1 minute, to summarily discuss the roles, the responsibilities, and benefits of partners in a PPP arrangement. That's the government, the private sector, and even the community that we saw sign here today. Thank you.
Again, I mean, the key partners in a PPP will be the government and the private sector. And just to build on what I said earlier, the private sector will be bringing its expertise, its efficiency, its innovation to government projects. So the government benefits from some of the things the private sector can bring to those projects. And also the private sector will then benefit from having access to government projects which ordinarily they may not have access to. So those are essentially the two key partners. Of course, you have advisors, lawyers, investment banks, and the rest of us who also come around to help ensure that some of those projects are developed to the point where they become bankable and are actually able to attract the necessary funding to keep them going.
Thank you very much, sir. Very quickly, Mr. Nzewi, can you summarize the risk-sharing mechanisms that can be adopted to mitigate some of this risk that Mr. Shah just highlighted? In 1 minute, please.
Okay, so the risk-sharing mechanisms will include like the PPPs we've talked about, government equity participations, revenue risk mitigation techniques, as well as political risk insurance, and other insurance solutions like construction risk, completion risk, performance bonds, and all of that. I think in conclusion, I would just like to talk a bit more about what we do at CardinalStone and how we can help with some of this. CardinalStone, like I said earlier, it's an investment bank based in Lagos. In 2022, we actually became the #1 stockbroker on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So today we are the largest stockbroker in Nigeria, and we completed the sale of Union Bank to Titan Trust Bank, which again is the largest transaction in the entire history of the Nigerian capital market. So given our track record in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, whether you're looking to acquire significant equity stake in listed companies, be it a bank, be it a telecom company, you want to buy 10% or 5% or any significant minority stake in publicly listed companies, then you should be talking to us because we are in the best place to help with that. And also fundraising for some of the things we talked about earlier. Thank you.
Thank you very much.